DJ2211 says you should use melons or coconuts instead of detergent bottles when testing your weapons to better simulate human bodies or zombies. No. Wow, 2 weapon videos in the same year? I'm just cranking them out, huh? Alright, weapon number 1. A flail, I think. It's made out of a steel rod, steel pipe actually, really thick length of chain, a 3/8 inch bolt, some assorted nuts, washers, lock washers, and all that. The first thing I would imagine you'd be wondering is why didn't I put some kind of a head on it? You know, because traditionally when you see flails in video games, they've got like the big spiky ball at the end. But honestly, when you're using a chain that's this thick, you really don't actually need to put anything on the end. Like, obviously you can, but just the weight of this thing alone is enough to do some serious damage. So, here's a demonstration. So here's that thing that I punched that cinder block with, like right in the beginning. It's all steel on steel construction, held together with bolts. Obviously there's a more effective way I could join steel together like welding, but I can't afford a welder right now. Boo-hoo, first world problems. Originally, it started out, I was just trying to build some kind of a steel fist that I could like smash stuff with. And then I finished it and I was just kind of like, might as well put an 18-inch blade on it. I already showed it smashing that cinder block, so I'll just, I guess I'll play that little clip again, and then I'll show you it cutting like a water bottle. So here's the heavy hitter of the video. I obviously need to explain what this is. It is a penguin, all steel on steel construction except for this, the penguin's feet, which is made out of paracord, again held together with bolts, but the bolts hold together surprisingly well just because there's so many of them. The penguin's head actually I think is pretty unique. I rounded it. That's not very unique, is it? But then from the front I gave it this X shape, and what the point of that was supposed to be was that instead of the striking surface being spread over this whole entire thing, it would only hit, you know, a small area at a time, so that gives it more PSI. And that was also the idea with making the penguin's neck so narrow. I made it sort of like a bone breaker so that when you would strike things with the penguin's neck, all the force generated from the penguin's head swinging would just be translated into this one tiny little strike that would just, you know, fly through bone. All of this clearly theoretical. These are not to be used for anything violent. I just made it because it's cool. Okay, here's the demonstration. And here's what I was swinging at with the penguin's bone breaker neck. It's just a 1-inch hardwood rod. I think on Mythbusters they said it was like 110 pounds to break a bone. I'd say this stuff is perfectly reasonable as a bone analog, especially when you double it up. It's perfectly fine, I think. This is actually much more of an experiment than a weapon. I made those PVC bows in part 2 and they worked really well, but I wanted to expand on them a little bit, so I made a PVC compound bow. Like I said, it's just an experiment. It's not a finished product. It's not very pretty. I was just kind of testing the concept, really. But I mean, it's fully functional, so I just thought I'd throw this in here. It's made out of mostly PVC. And I actually made the rollers out of roller skate wheels, and I cut some grooves into them. And then just some 100-pound paracord for the bowstrings. I don't even have a proper arrow to shoot out of it. I'm just shooting this highway marker. While we're talking about experiments, here's this thing that I made, which I actually have absolutely no idea on what to call it, but pretty much it's a saw blade slinger, I guess. You put a saw blade in here, it's held in there by some magnets. You swing this whole thing like a baseball bat. The saw blade traveling down the track gives it some spin so that it doesn't just tumble through the air. And the advantage of using this kind of thing over just throwing a saw blade would be the extra length. That gives the saw blade more distance and more power when it actually hits. Plus, if you don't have a glove, there's a pretty good chance you could cut your hand when you're throwing it. Now in the demonstration video, I am holding back a lot because I'm not 100% accurate with it, and I don't want to damage my neighbor's fence too bad. But I mean, even with like how lightly I'm swinging it, you can still see that you get some pretty good speed out of this thing. So these are not homemade weapons, so I'm going to spend as little time as humanly possible on these things. I was just messing around yesterday, throwing some stuff. Thought some of the stuff looked kind of cool. Yeah, there's that road marker, some pry bars, some saw blades. I'm not a professional knife thrower. I was just having some fun. So here's the footage. So here's some body armor. The base of it is just dirt bike padding, but all the plating that you see on it is actually the fiberglass hood of a car. And anywhere that you see lines or spaces or anything, there's actually sheet steel inside there holding it all together. So it's really super tough, and because it's dirt bike padding as the base, the range of motion is just like awesome. You can hardly tell you're wearing armor while you're wearing it. And also, really sorry if you're completely sick of seeing this helmet, but I added one of the final modifications to it, this construction helmet strap instead of that weird ghetto strap system that I had before. So now what you gotta do is just loosen the ratchet on the back of it, put it on, tighten it, and it's just on. It's just on that easy. It used to take like 2.5 minutes to put it on. It's just on like that now. So definite improvement. Definitely like that. So here's my final piece, the Propane Tank Shield 2.0. Very similar to the one in part 2, only it's twice as big because I use both halves of the propane tank instead of just one. The padding, much more comfortable, much more protective. The whole thing is just all around built way, way, way better than the first one. Yeah, that's really all there is to say about it, and that is really all there is in this video. That is the last thing that I have. Sorry if that was kind of abrupt. So that concludes hair in my mouth. So that oh my gosh. So that concludes Homemade Weapons 3. Hope you enjoyed it. Ooh, I got 3 big news. Big news number 1. You know those vlogs that I do where I like sit in the car or walk around, make fun of stuff? I'm not going to be doing those on this channel anymore. I'm going to make a second channel called, I don't know, probably this. That's where all the vlogs are going to go, all the updates and stuff. It's going to go there. So if you like the vlogs, definitely go subscribe to that. I'll put the link at the end of this video and in the description. So yeah, that's that. Big news number 2. You know how I make a weapon video like every few years? The reason that happens that way is because I make so many weapons in each video. What I'm gonna start doing is I'm going to make a video every time I make a weapon. So I'll be able to make a whole lot more videos, and I'll be able to focus on the quality of each weapon, so each one is really super cool. And yeah, that's also very good. Oh yeah. Big news number 3.